So, at the start of February, I had two choices on what game to play. I could play a game that has gotten delayed multiple times and was pulled online a day before release, and I knew it was probably going to be terrible, or play a game that I know is probably going to be good. I'm probably going to enjoy myself playing it. So like a normal person, I ended up playing the game that would most likely be good. So Persona 3 Reload has been out for a couple weeks, and I've been playing the fuck out of it. I didn't watch any trailers for the game at all. All I knew is that when the game was coming out. That's all I knew. And I was extremely hyped. Before we go on, I want to say that I'm not the most familiar with the Persona series as a whole. I always knew about its existence, but never played any game in it until Persona 5, and I ended up loving Persona 5 so much that it made me want to try out the other games, but I just never ended up doing it. If you want to count Persona 5 Royal as a separate game, then I guess I've played two Persona games, but yeah, the only ones I've played is Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal. That's right, boys, the big noob in the building here. So when Persona 3 Reload was coming out, I thought it would be a good chance to fully get into the series more, and with this being a remake of the third game, and with the amount of praise I've heard it get from over the years and how good it is and all that, it was even more of a reason to try it out. So after spending 80 hours into this game, can I truly say that this game is good? Well, let's get into it. I'm gonna try to keep this story recap as spoiler free as possible for those who want to play the game, so I'm gonna try my best to keep it as spoiler free as possible. So you play as this transfer student, which in the Persona series you name them whatever the hell you want, but the canon name is Makoto Yuki, who transfers to a new dorm. He's lost both his parents and doesn't really have many people in his life. But once you get to the dorm, you notice that your surroundings are not normal, to say the least. After entering the dorm, you see a boy in striped pajamas, and he forces you to sign a contract. After signing it, you meet two ladies named Yukari Takaba and Mitsuru Kirijo. They both have a gun on them, and they basically tell you to just go to your room and get some sleep, and just try to pretend like you didn't see any of this weird shit. After being shown around the new store and the new area that you're gonna be in for the whole game, everything's kinda normal. But a couple days later, a massive enemy known as a shadow is attacking the dorm building. You're brought to the rooftop because you have potential, where you see Yukari trying to shoot herself with the gun she was holding a couple nights ago, but struggles to do it. Reasonably so. After she gets injured, the protagonist decides to pick up the gun and shoot himself in the fucking head, awakening to his new power called Persona. After defeating the shadow, protagonist loses his consciousness, and after waking up a couple days later, Mitsuru, Yukari, and another student named Sanada, and the chairman of the dorm explains that there was another hour in the day where normal people don't really remember since they are sleeping in coffins, and it's called the Dark Hour. The Dark Hour has enemies that only appear during the Dark Hour, and they attack who is outside of the coffins. So you join the Specialized Extracurricular Execution Squad, SEES for short. They give you a gun called an Evoker that allows you to use your persona. You have to shoot yourself in the head to activate it. The protagonist is special because he can use multiple personas, while everyone else can only use one. So your job is to fight the shadows and try to get rid of the Dark Hour, and make bonds with the people around you. I know that was a lot, but that's all I'm gonna say in terms of story, because it gets so much fucking crazier. But I don't want to get into any spoilers, so that's where I'm gonna leave off with story. Getting into the positives, the main one for me is the characters. The characters are all amazing in this game. I love all their personalities, the way they interact with each other, the bonds, everything. The time they spent together is so fucking good. I never got bored just having them just chilling and relaxing and all that. It was so fun. Each character gets their arc and they grow as people, and by the end of the game, you see that they've grown as people and you truly care about them. The main cast, SEES, they're all really, really good. You see them go through many struggles and loss. It's so damn good. Each character is different from when they started, and that's a good character development. The other characters that you interact with, they're like the confidants from Persona 5, and they're pretty good in here too. Spending time with them is really cool because in Persona 5, they have their own personalities, their own arts, and they're all great. Well, most of them. The more time you spend with them, the more the Arcana rank goes up. So each character has a set Arcana, and spending time with them increases that rank, which allows you to make stronger personas. You pick what the main character says throughout the whole game. In my opinion, the option to pick what the character says, it makes the bonds you make with those characters more personal, in my opinion. It makes you connect with them a little bit more on a personal level, if that makes any sense. And this game is pretty fucking funny, I'm not gonna lie. There was a lot of moments in this game where I legitimately laughed out loud. Like, especially like with Yukari, like roasting the fuck out of like some of the members. Like, it's funny as hell. And it's also funny because like, since you can pick what to say in the game, like you can be a complete dick in this game. Like, there's a character in the game where you can bond with. Like, she's a little girl, and like she's trying to like go through this like divorce process with her parents. Like, she doesn't want it to happen, and like you can tell that she's just, you know, devastated by this, and you can just flat out tell her, yeah, it's your fucking fault, they're getting a divorce. Like, that shit's funny. Like, okay dude, calm the fuck down. Or another one of them is like this kid who gets into a fucking relationship with his teacher, like the Giga Chad that he is, and it's funny seeing his story. Like, and it like, before it happens, you basically tell him like, bro, this is not gonna happen, and when it happens, you just say, what the fuck? I'm gonna call them confidants. Like, they're really good in this game. Some of them kinda suck. There's one of them that really does suck in my opinion, but most of them are pretty good. You can fuse personas together to make even more powerful ones in this game, like in Persona 5, and oh my god, this shit is so fucking satisfying. Like, the strength of the persona depends on what level the Arcana is. Like, for example, there's a Moon Arcana, and you spend like enough time with that person who is representative of that Arcana, that persona that you're gonna fuse is gonna be more powerful, if that makes sense. And it also depends on the abilities of the two personas being fused together. Like, you can pick between what abilities they already have and have that on that persona. And I would always come to fuse personas whenever I could, because I always love getting new ones and trying them out. And it's highly recommended that you do, because like, you get new abilities, they get stronger, and it's necessary. Eventually, you're gonna fucking fuse personas, and you're gonna need to do it, because later on in the game, if you don't, you're gonna get your ass handed to you. So, like, it's like really satisfying to do. This game is a turn-based RPG, which I know for some people, that's an instant turn off, which I do understand. Turn-based is not for everybody. It plays pretty similar to 5. When it's your turn, your character can either attack, use your persona, use an item, or guard. Each character has a different playstyle. Like, some characters like to focus on healing and doing magic damage, while some just like focus on physical attacks. Some like have a lot of abilities to debuff enemies or buff you and your party. Like, each character plays differently, and it's like really good. Each character felt really good to use. There wasn't a single character that I didn't like using. Like, most characters have an element that they are good with. Like, for example, Mitsuru is an ice user. She specializes in ice attacks, inflicting ailments on enemies. And there's another example, Yukari, she focuses on wind attacks and healing the party. Like, and you get the idea, every party member is like that. Each character has their own strengths and weaknesses, so no character feels the same to use. You can use debuffs on enemies or buff yourself or your party and make the fight easier. Like, there's so many things you can do with this system, and it's fucking amazing. Like, you can get abilities to help support you, or like support the other team members. Like, there's a lot of things you can do with this power system, and it's awesome. Like I said, the main character can use multiple personas to attack enemy weaknesses. This is a great feature, because having multiple personas can help you in a lot of situations. Like, you can have a persona that deals a lot of dark damage or light damage, or like, you know, fire damage. Like, you do a lot of magic damage or something. Then you can switch over to another persona that focuses on healing or debuffing enemies or buffing yourself. Then you can switch over to a persona that focuses on physical attacks. But I love the freedom you get with this when it comes to the system, because like with the main character, you never feel like you're underpowered. When you strike an enemy weaknesses, you knock them down. When you knock an enemy down, you get the option to shift to another character. This works like the baton pass in Persona 5. And just in like that game, that shit is fucking satisfying. I will say baton pass is a little bit better because you get more damage, and eventually you can recover like more SP, more health. I mean, it's like that in here, but like it takes up a spot in your persona to like get that ability. You know what I'm saying? So I think Baton Pass is a little bit better, but this shift is still really good. Like, there's nothing more satisfying than constantly shifting characters, striking weaknesses, and knocking them all down. When you do knock them all down, you get the option to do an all-out attack, which basically one-shots whatever the fuck is on screen. This was extremely satisfying to pull off. Eventually, in the game, each character unlocks a Theurgy. A Theurgy is a special move for each character. You have to do specific requirements to activate it. Like, for example, Yukari, she has to like use healing skills to use her Theurgy. Or like Junpei, another good character, he has to hit criticals to use his Theurgy. Like, there's specific requirements for each character to activate it, and once you do activate it, they can either be extremely powerful attacks that fuck up the enemy, or they can be something that buffs the team, like restore their health, or like give them stat bonuses. You get the idea. Theurgy was always amazing to use because you can be getting your ass handed to you, and then you get to do a massive damage or heal the team. It's amazing. Like, this whole fucking gameplay system is so fucking good. Like, I never got bored when playing. Fuck, I love JRPGs. The main area where you're gonna be doing your fighting is in a tower called Tartarus, as in the Dark Tower. This tower is the only place where you fight shadows. At first, I was weirded out by this, because in Persona 5 you get those, like, you get every palace that, you know, that's different from each other. Not include bosses, because, you know, the bosses. This is the only area you fight enemies in. But I grew to appreciate it. Like, you go up many floors of the tower and you battle many shadows and get good treasures. You get access to a certain amount of floors at one time, until you can't proceed any further until you beat a boss. Then that allows you to proceed further on, and it's like a cycle. Tartarus is a great dungeon to fight enemies in and get stronger. Like, there's always something new that happens in Tartarus, so it never gets stale. Each floor is different from each other. It's kind of like Mementos from Persona 5, where every time you leave, the floors change. Like, one day, one floor might have a lot of treasure chests, and another day you come back, that floor is filled with enemies, and like they'll fuck you up. And like, as you go on, like, each floor is different. Like I said, like, they might have better chests, they have stronger shadows, there might be rare shadows that give you a lot of loot, or the shadows have ailments on them that make them act differently. Like, one of them might be inflicted with rage, so they're more pissed off, so they'll chase after you more, and they're more unpredictable. Or they'll be inflicted with fear and they run away from you. Whenever you complete a battle, like, of shadows, like a wave of whatever, you get these cards at the end which affect your visit of Tartarus that day. This makes Tartarus so much fucking fun, because like, if you want to go to Tartarus and, like, let's say you want to farm money, like, you can constantly farm the money and like get the money option. Or if you want to get more XP, like, you can get more XP there. Like, you get to pick like what you get out of each encounter, and I like that. This is also how you get new personas in this way if you're not fusing. I do kind of miss like the mechanic where you talk to the persona in Persona 5 to like try to like negotiate. I do kind of miss that. But this system is also really good. Every couple floors you get a new theme, so it never gets boring. Like, the first one, it starts off kind of basic, then the next theme, it gets more like mechanical, and like every couple floors, like, the theme of the tower switches, and is a visual change, and it's awesome. So it never like gets stale. They're always coming back here. Like, sometimes someone will accidentally wander into Tartarus and you have to save them. And when you save them, you get rewards. And eventually you get access to these monad doors, which have extremely powerful enemies, but they have good rewards. Don't be like me and just head in there thinking you're tough shit, because if you do that, you will get your ass handed to you if you are not prepared. I remember the first monad door I tried to take on, I'm like, alright, I'm gonna fuck this guy up. I ended up dying. They do not fuck around. Like, you have to be on top of everything. You have to be really prepared to take on these doors. All these things that I mentioned make Tartarus fun and never like make it boring, like, going in there. Like, there was never a time where I'm like, fuck, I gotta go back to Tartarus. Like, whenever they were like, you have to go back to Tartarus, I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. But the last two areas can fuck off. They basically, every enemy in there basically one-shots you, and like, they always have these abilities that they insecure you, and it's fucking annoying. The bosses are all pretty good, they are all fun to fight, and they don't feel unfair to take down. Like, there's not some bullshit where like you feel like it's just unfair and unbalanced. No, each boss is fun to fight. Like there was never a boss that made me want to break my controller, you know what I mean? Another positive of the game is its themes and messages that the game decides to explore. Now, I've always heard that Persona 3 was the darkest Persona game. Now, I can't confirm or deny it since I've only played this game and Persona 5, so I don't get how every other game is. But comparing these two, this game is definitely darker than Persona 5. Like, I love how this game isn't afraid to go into very dark topics. Like, within the first 5 minutes of this game, I can tell this game was gonna be darker. Like, the way they fucking activate the personas, they're shooting themselves in the head, so like, you can tell this game is darker. The game goes into themes about death, loneliness, suicide, depression, and other themes that might be a little too uncomfortable for some players. I love how the game isn't scared of going into details about some of these messages like how death is unavoidable and how we just have to accept that fact and that we're not gonna be here forever and eventually we're gonna pass on, and how we have to live life to the fullest because you never know when we're gonna die, and we should have no regrets when we do pass on, and when we have to make bonds so we don't live life lonely, suffer alone, knowing that death is coming for us all, and try to make life like the fullest and the best it can be. Well, fuck, that got dark. Another positive of the game is the music. This game's music goes so fucking hard. There were so many memorable tracks, and whenever it came on, sometimes I would just stand there and just listen to the music. It's so fucking good. Like, the battle theme, that shit goes hard. Whenever, like, the soundtrack comes to, like, the music services, I'm gonna be listening to it, because these fucking tracks are amazing. And I was expecting it to be amazing, because I fucking love Persona 5's music, because that goes really hard. I was expecting this to be good, and I'm glad it didn't disappoint. Final positive of the game for me is the animated scenes they have throughout. They're just amazing. I know it's a small thing, but if you've seen my Sonic Superstars review, I fucking love when games have these animated cutscenes. I don't know, there's something about them I just love a lot. Now, onto the mixed elements of the game. The pacing can be a bit slow at points. There are points where I think it does drag on a bit. It didn't happen too often. Like, it wasn't like a Final Fantasy 16 thing where, like, there was a lot of points where the game definitely did drag, but there were points where I definitely felt the game's runtime at some points. Another mixed element is the character of Aragaki. Him as a character, he's amazing. I loved his arc, and I loved everything about that character. I loved his development. I love his character is good. The reason he's mixed is because we don't get enough of him. He's built up throughout the entire game. Like, he's built up like, oh, he did something terrible, and like he's fucked up, and like you get that build up, and once you finally like get to know him, like, it's good, like, it's good shit. But something in the story, like, happens to him. It's a good story element, don't get me wrong, but, like, I feel like if we just got a little bit more of him, it would have hit a lot more. There was one story beat where one of the characters, he does something dumb. He kind of fucks over the team a little bit. And in the moment, I was like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Are you fucking retarded? But the reason it's mixed because, like, that choice that he makes, it ends up building his character a lot. Like, he goes on an arc from that mistake he made, and it's really, really good. So I'm willing to forgive that. Another mixed element is that there's 3 characters that don't get enough screen time. Like, they're good characters, but I feel like they could have had more to do with. I wanted to see their interactions more, especially at the end of the game where things are going fucking insane. For those who've played the game, you probably know which 3 characters I'm talking about. Last mixed element for me is that there's a twist that happens, like, I want to say a little over halfway through the game, and I'm sorry, but I literally saw it coming. I saw it coming within the first like hour. I'm not saying it's a bad twist, like what happens is fucking insane and it's a really good story beat, but like I kind of just saw it coming like from like the first hour or so. I don't really have any negatives with the game. Like the negatives I do have are kind of like small nitpicks. Like this game is extremely good. I love the gameplay, I love the story, like everything about this game I love a lot. Like the dark elements of this game, of like depression, suicide, like death and all that, that's all really, really good. And if I'm remembering correctly, this game was the fastest selling like Atlus game, and I think it showed like 100 million or something, like within like a week, and that's just fucking fast. I don't know the exact like number, but like yeah, it was a really fast-selling game, and I can really see why. Like this game is really good. Like building bonds with the characters around you, like just going on this like fucked up storyline with these characters and seeing them like struggle and go through some fucked up shit. Like it's amazing. I love going through that because like building the connection with those characters, like I actually gave a fuck about them. I know this game isn't for everybody because it's turn-based and like the way it is, like you have to live a normal day-to-day life and a lot of things. Like Persona is not a game series that is for everybody. I will acknowledge that, but I recommend it for people who want to try something new and different. That's why I'm gonna give Persona 3 Reload an 8.85 out of 10. That's gonna do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. This is the probably the biggest review I've ever done because how long it took me to beat the game, but I do love making these reviews for you guys. It's awesome to do, and I want to do more. If you guys want to see me do more Persona content, like maybe want me to do a review of Persona 5 Royal, even though that game's fucking long, I'll do it if you want me to. And like maybe like I'll do a retrospective of the other Persona games if you want to. That's gonna do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.